Hi Brandon, I've got your week number 5 leg in front of me, and I have to say this will probably be a short review because it looks very good. Um, Probably the best so far that I've seen this week. Of course, I'm going alphabetically, so I'm only 4 or 5 in, but it's looking very good. So I'll try to be quite critical with it because there's a lot of good stuff going on, and it just needs probably just a few small refinements to take it to the next level. On the standing leg, I would just be careful about uh, getting some of the volumes to pop a little bit more. And what I'm talking about is things like this transition in here. I know is actually pretty sharp on this guy, right? So we have a pretty strong overlap right in this area where kind of the semimembranosus and semitendinosus tendons come down, and just kind of punch that a little bit to get a little bit more depth to the volumes. And that's probably the only thing that I would criticize on this is that it's very well constructed, but some of the volumes are just a little bit shallow, if you know what I mean. So that the overall impression is nice, is very smooth. But the important thing when kind of making something really look nice is to really find the areas where there's a lot of contrast in the forms, where there's a lot of kind of overlap, and then just put those little accents in, right? Because it's kind of like when you're doing a drawing or a painting and you have your deepest blacks and your whitest whites, where you go in with special chalk and just really make the blacks black or the whites pop out, because it's those tiny little improvements in gesture that really highlight the transitions in planes and in form. Okay, so that's all I'm doing to really just kind of pop some of these things out a tiny bit, is to just push some of the cavities in a little bit and then pop some of the highlights out. Right, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I hope that you understand what I'm saying. It's just take some of these things that are a little bit shallow and deepen them, but not too much, and just kind of accent some of the plane changes. Right, I think maybe if I was going to say one thing about the volume, I think volumetrically this probably pops out too far. Like you won't generally see this part of the biceps femoris pop out beyond the level of the vastus lateralis, so I might just step down and take that in a bit with a move brush, because it is pretty developed on this guy, but I think it just needs to sit still in a plane a little bit recessed behind the vastus lateralis. Okay, and I'll just take this in a touch more. That's a little better. That's what I expect to see. So I expect to see this contour coming down, and then I expect to see biceps femoris tendon and body come out from under it right here. Okay, other things that you do to just highlight and make areas pop is to pull a little bit of this out and then just push in a tiny bit on this side. Get my intensities pretty high. And I can actually go to clay tubes to just get a little bit more fullness in this fat pad underneath the knee, right? So it's not all sitting together, like they're almost embedded in each other. These kind of forms just interchange and really give a lot of irregularity even off the side, right? So we can just change that up a little bit. Funny things happen in the knee, so you can actually get away with a lot as long as it's well constructed and not overdone. Okay, I think that's all I'm going to say about this stage. Looks very good, and we'll bend the knee. And actually, all my little accents that I've put on are on that layer as well. So I might just reload this tool really quickly. so that we have a fresh one. And here we go, back to the bent leg. Okay, so on the bent leg, just having a quick look around this, I think again it's all pretty well constructed and in place. I would just pay careful attention to what is the top of the tibia, right? Find your distinct kneeling point, which is somewhere in here, right, where the ligament comes down. And then the actual height of the tibia is up a little bit higher, right, comes up at an angle like this. And so that's going to give us, this is going to be where the plateau is that the condyles of the femur sit on, right? So these are going to be sitting in here, something like this. And I think yours might have gotten a little too soft and plainer on the outside. I think we can probably do a little more with some of that, some more kind of bony construction. Right, so here I'm just slotting in the tibialis anterior into this crest of the tibia, and as the tibia goes back, this is where we see the head of the fibula sitting in. And of course I expect to see that when I turn solo off and transparent on. Turn that off, and yep, very good. I can see most of the construction in there. Let me turn X-ray off. Ghosting. I think that maybe constructionally your size of your cutaway that you've done is too small. Remember that this head of the fibula needs to be out here, and the whole tibial plateau needs to just be a little bigger. So you almost transpose your bony construction up a little bit and scale it. Okay, so we're kind of continuing. We were putting in this condyle, right? And so when you kind of have this constructionally in there like that, you want to make sure that it doesn't look like it's just drawn on the surface. You want the appropriate kind of muscles to overlap it. And that's going to be kind of vastus lateralis coming in like you have it, and actually the short head of the biceps femoris fills it up here quite broadly, right? So this is going to be, it's quite pronounced on this guy. So that's going to come down. And then we have things like iliotibial band coming off here, kind of hiding some of this. Like I've kind of, it's a little bit too strong what I have here. Of course, because we have skin and we have the meniscus in here and a bunch of other forms that are kind of modulating what's going on in this area, right? So we can just kind of soften all that up. And we don't want it sticking out. It needs to be recessed a little bit, okay? Other than that, again, it's almost the same thing that we had for the straight leg. You know, just be very explicit about some of these harder plane changes in here. You know, if you've got a big, soft, squishy section of the knee interlocking with the big kind of muscles of the calf, just make sure you set up the planes really explicitly and make the volumes really pop. Because again, I think you erred on the side of just a little too subtle. But it's a fine balance. I mean, I think overall it's well done. Okay, let me just look now at your knee by itself in isolation. I'm not going to make too many comments on these because, yeah, it's kind of extra credit assignment, and lateral surface looks good. So this one's kind of flat and tall. Remember, you want this to be a little bit taller. So this, you can feel it for yourself. You can actually feel on your knee, if you have a bent knee under your desk or whatever, just feel this top ridge of the condyle coming up on the outside. It comes pretty high, and it's pretty sharp. You'll see it on people too if you look carefully. And then slightly lower on the inside. Okay, this is actually a little bit more convex. You can almost see the vastus medialis coming over top of it. Okay, that looks good. In general, the construction is sound, and it's the right shapes for that It just has to be a little bit bigger compared to your skinned leg. Okay, looks very good, and great effort this week. Thanks.